There we go. Hi, Hudis. Nice to see you. Welcome aboard. One of the insights about the word Pesach. So the first, most commonly cited meaning is to skip over, to leap over. That Hashem jumped over the homes of the Jewish people, did not strike down the firstborn, the Bechoros of the Jews, while he was striking down the Bechoros of the Egyptians, Makas Bechoros. Rashi also cites a meaning of the word as having compassion. And I think that those two things are related, that we could say it's Hashem's compassion for the Jewish people, through which he skipped over their homes and only performed Makas Bechoros on the Mitzri. There's another drasha on the word Pesach, which divides the word into two. Pesach, which means literally the mouth which speaks. Peh meaning the mouth. Sach is a lashon of sicha, which means to speak. Pesach, the mouth speaks. Now, this is very important for us because it gives us an insight into Seder night, which is all about the mouth speaking. One of the mitzvahs halayla, one of the mitzvahs of Pesach night, min haTorah, is v'higadato lebincha, to say it over to your children, to teach about what happened in Yetzias Mitzrayim, what we call in the Haggadah the section of Magid, to speak. So Pesach, the mouth which speaks on Pesach night. But of course, we have to understand why. Why is this so important? For example, on Sukkot, when we sit down in the sukkah, we do have to know why we're sitting in the sukkah. But there's no mitzvah to talk about it all night long. We go in the sukkah, we do our mitzvahs there. We're not involved in a seder on Sukkot night. Similarly, on Shavuos, Zaman Matan Torah Seinu, we celebrate the giving of the Torah to the Jewish people, but there's no mitzvah specifically to talk about it, and certainly not to talk about it all night. Pesach is unique, that there is not only a mitzvah of the celebration of Pesach, but that you actually have to actually talk about it. It needs to be part of the conversation of the nighttime that God took us out of Mitzrayim. Pesach, the mouth which speaks. So again, why is this on Pesach? Manishtana, how is Pesach different than all the other Yom Tovim? That it receives this mitzvah of speaking. There's a very interesting concept in Sforim HaKadoshim. It has to do with the concept of Golus. Golus means literally exile. We think about exile as the Jewish people being in exile from our land, Eretz Yisrael, ever since the Churban HaBayis, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. We are a people in exile. We hope to return for the Bayis HaShlishi, B'mehera B'yameinu, any day. There are other concepts of Golus, though. The idea of something being in exile. There is a concept in our Sforim about Golus HaMidos, that the Midos are in Golus. The character traits of a Jew are in exile. What does that mean? How can a character trait be in exile? Then, in regards to Mitzrayim, our time there in slavery, we are taught that our dibur was in exile, our speech was in exile. Interesting, what does that mean? And our da'as was in exile in Mitzrayim, our knowledge was in exile. So one of the ways to understand this is that speech being in exile doesn't mean that a person doesn't know how to speak. It means rather that their speech is taking place in the wrong context. So just like we, the Jewish people who are living in exile, we're not really living in the right context. We're not in the land of Israel. We're here, we're living, we're serving God, but it's not really in the right place. So Golus Hadibur means that, yeah, we're speaking, but there's something about our speech which is not really in the right context. It's out of place. Golus Hadas, the exile of Da'as, of knowledge, is that we have knowledge, but it's in the wrong place. Our knowledge is directed elsewhere, not to where it should be. It's out of place. That's a little bit of insight in the concept of Golus as it applies outside of the area of Golus of our people in exile. So what happened on Pesach night? Well, Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. We physically left Egypt. We walked out of that country where we were enslaved for 210 years. No slave had ever escaped Egypt, our Chachamim tell us. So physical departure from slavery was certainly a major part of leaving Egypt. But there were also other deeper redemptions that we experienced on Pesach night and even after that. The spiritual redemption is that, yeah, we were talking in Mitzrayim and we were thinking in Mitzrayim, but we were not really in our place. We were slaves. We had foreign masters. We had control over our thought. We had control over our speech. Paro didn't want to even give us 1 second of extra time, lest we be thinking about freedom or thinking about God. Not even 1 moment did he want to free us. So everything there was under his thumb, and yeah, we could speak and think, but all under a foreign force, a wicked force. So our speech and our knowledge were in exile. When we left Mitzrayim, not only did we physically become free, but our mind became free. Our emotions became free. Our speech became free. A slave can only talk about so much. So the whole Jewish personality becomes free when we leave Egypt. And therefore, what do we have to do in order to experience that, recognize that, live that? We have to talk about it. We have to use our liberated speech, which occurred on Pesach night, and talk about what happened, because we can finally talk. We're not under Paro's rule anymore. We can speak. So Hashem says, speak, Magid, let it all come out. It's like a person who was repressed for many, many years, can't get it out. And then finally the floodgates open. Talk about it. Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's the freedom of speech. Pesach, the mouth which speaks. But it's also the freedom of thought, of thinking, da'as. Our mind is now released from Mitzrayim, our da'as. And so what happens when our da'as is freed from Paro? It takes a little journey to Har Sinai, Matan Torah. 49 days, not too long. Once we're leaving Egypt, once we have left Egypt and we're set free physically, spiritually, now our mind, which is free, needs to be engaged in something brand new, Matan Torah, to make sure that our speaking and our thinking are engaged in Torah. Because otherwise, when we become free from something, who says we're going to use our freedom for the right thing? Maybe we'll misdirect our freedom. So God takes us right to Matan Torah. Pesach night, Davka that night, we talk about it because our Dibur is free and liberated, redeemed. We think about it because we're meant to think about all these ideas in a brand new way, a Geuladik way. And this takes us from Mitzrayim to Har Sinai. So Pesach, the mouth which speaks. May we all be zoche to truly have our speech freed on Pesach night, our da'as freed, and to be used in ways to serve Hashem in every facet of our life. Bimhei Rabbi Amenu. Well, being that this is pre-Shabbos and also pre-Pesach, so the pre-Shabbos part will be our L'chadodi Niggin, as we always sing. Everybody's welcome to sing at home. L'chadodi likras kala di da 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 di 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 da 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 p'nei Shabbos nikal avela di di da bye bam bye bye l'chadodi. Likras kala di 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 bi ba ba da 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 p'nei Shabbos nekabela da 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 Shamar v'zachar b'dibur echad Hishmeyanu kelam yuchad ayay di di dam bye bam di di bye bye bam bye bye Hashem echad U'Shemayim echad L'Shem U'L'Tiferes V'Lisila L'Echadaydi Likras Kala Pennei Shabbos Nekabelam Didididim Badadam Badadam Dididadam Babayam Badadam Badididam Dididabadam Badam Boli Vishallam Ateres Bala Kabarina Ubitsahalaya Dididam Babam Didididam Bye Talchemune Amsagula Bovichala Bovichala Shabbos Malkisan Lechadodi Likras Kalai Pennei Shabbos Nekabelam Dididam Babam Badididam Dididadam Babam Dididadam Badididam Dididam Babam Bam Dididam Bam Badididam Bam 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 Imba Dadam Babam Didididam Babam Bam 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 Dididadam Badidadam Dididam Babam Babam Didididam Babam 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 Dididadam Babam Dididadam Babam Dididadam Babam Indadam Babam One of the things we say in the Haggadah is V'hisha Amda. We'll sing it in a couple of minutes. V'hisha Amda Lavosenu. And it is this, V'hi, which stands for our fathers, our ancestors, which has stood for our ancestors and for us. Not only one arose to try and destroy us, but in every generation they arise against us to destroy us. And Hashem saves us from their hands. One of the famous questions is, what is V'hi? V'hi Sha'amda. It is this which has stood for our ancestors and for us. What is V'hi? Some say it's the Torah, because the word Torah is a feminine word. Torah ends with kamatzeh. It's a feminine word. V'hi, therefore, means the Torah, which has stood for us through all the generations. There's another way to look at it, which is just before V'hi Sha'amda, in the Haggadah, we read a paragraph which says, Baruch Shomer Havtachaso L'Yisrael. Blessed is the one who keeps his guarantee for the Jewish people. The word Havtachaso is a contraction. It's two words, Havtacha Shalo, his promise, his guarantee. Havtacha is a feminine word, kamatzeh ending. So blessed is the one who keeps his guarantee to the Jewish people, Baruch Hu. V'hi, feminine, is the Havtacha. It is God's promise and his guarantee to us, which has always been there for us anytime our enemies have risen against us, which is really exactly what the previous paragraph said, that Hashem was Chishav es HaKetz. He was always thinking about, he had thought about and considered the end of slavery in Mitzrayim. And he said to Avram Avinu at the Bris Ben HaBesarim, you should know, your children will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. Va'avadum, we will be slaves to them. Be'inu osam, they will torture us. Arba me'ashana, 400 years. Then, V'games hagoy asher ya'avodu dan hanochi, I will judge that nation, Hashem says, which is Mitzrayim, turns out to be Mitzrayim. V'acharechein yetzu berchush gadol, and then the Jewish people will leave. Not only will we leave, but will leave with great possessions, great wealth. That's the Havtacha, that we're going to survive. We're going through this slavery period, but we're going to get out. Hashem's going to take us out, and we will leave, in a grand way. That's the Havtacha. The Hisha Amda, it's that very same Havtacha that God made to us then. The paradigm of slavery and redemption, of Galus and redemption, for all of Jewish history, Mitzrayim, slavery and leaving slavery. The very first time Hashem says that to Avram Avinu, he says it along with the guarantee, the Havtacha, that we will be saved. We will come forth in a glorious way. And we have done that many, many times in history. Hashem has put his Havtacha out for us, and the Hisha Amda, that same promise, has been there for us every time someone has tried to come and destroy us. Here we are, several thousand years later. All those nations are gone. The Jewish people, because of Hashem's Havtacha to us, we continue to survive. I would like to also suggest that this applies on an individual basis as well, because there's always an idea of the Yachid and the Tzibur, the individual and the nation or the community. And just like the nation will come through its challenges, so we too as individuals, we have a certain strength from Hashem to pull through our challenges. Doesn't mean we won't experience them. It doesn't mean we won't have pain, but somehow we'll come forth from that. Just like our people came forth from Egypt, we will come forth. And knowing that all the way through, we just have to keep that in mind to give us strength, to give us hope, to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right there with us, just like he was in Mitzrayim, and he'll take us out. We don't know when, but we will somehow survive. And when we do, at the very end, it will be with glory and in a grand way, just like we left Mitzrayim. So we're going to sing two versions of this. One is the one I think we all grew up with, and the other one is the Yonatan Razel version, which became much more popular in the past 10, 15 years or so. And we were treated to Yonatan singing that for us in his concerts for us last year and before that as well. So the one that we always sing since I was a child, the Hishayamda, Lavoseinu Velanu, the Hishayamda, Lavoseinu Velanu, Shelo Echad Bilvad Madaleinu Lechalasenu, Ella Shevachad Avadar Amdim Aleinu Lechalasenu, Ella Shevachad Avadar Amdim Aleinu Lechalasenu, V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu Miyadam. That's the traditional one. Okay, now the Yonatan Razel one. V'hishayamda lavoseinu, V'hishayamda lavoseinu v'lanu, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו. והיא שיעמדה לבסנו, והיא שיעמדה לבסנו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו. והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם. והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם. Da 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 di da 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 dum da 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 di da 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 dum di da 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 di da 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 v'akadosh baruch hu Matzilenu, Matzilenu, miyadam, v'yakadosh baruch hu, Matzilenu, Matzilenu, miyadam, miyadam. Okay, wishing everybody a beautiful Shabbos and a Chag Kosher Sameach. We will not be able to have pre-Shabbos, pre-Pesach Zoom next week because we're all going to be really busy. And next Thursday night is B'dikas Chametz. So you know what? Right now we're going to say good Shabbos, good Yom Tov, Gula Shlema. Please unmute so we can all say all those good things to each other. All the best. Everybody.
Shabbos.
Thank you, Reb.
All good things.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Thank you.
All the best. Take care, everybody.
Take care.